promoting people power and affirming black and brown identity, like the Black Panther Party and the Young Lords, have been infiltrated by the FBI and dismantled. The leaders were persecuted. Some were assassinated while others were in prison. The social economic conditions of poverty, discrimination, lack of access to basic civil rights, and human rights for poor black and brown communities remain.
In the South Bronx, the Biggie Down Bronx, the Forgotten Borough, buildings were burned by landlords to collect insurance. Conditions of oppression were real to urban youth abandoned by society. An entire community suffering high levels of unemployment, lack of access to adequate housing, gang violence, police violence. The hip-hop culture emerged as a response to those conditions, providing the tools for the youth to express themselves and share their reality and talents with the world.
The first hip-hop party was held at 1520 Sedgwick Avenue by the father of the hip-hop culture, DJ Kool Herc. It was a back-to-school party to help raise funds for his younger sister, Cindy Campbell. It was the first party where all the elements of hip-hop culture came together.
With Bambaataa, he took it a step further and said, what we're organizing artistically, let's also band together, right? So, this gang and fighting, he was like, let's form the Universal Zulu Nation, and let's, we fight each other, but we got a whole perimeter of attacks on our entire community, you know what I mean? So, again, that's Bambaataa, the Universal Zulu Nation. That was also an example of, responding to attacks in the community through hip-hop and culture.
DJ Kool Herc is the father of hip-hop culture and the founder of the hip-hop DJ culture. Once that first party was done and word spread, hip-hop was becoming too big for the dance hall. The DJs took it to the streets, and just like that, hip-hop started claiming public space. The legendary park jams made hip-hop accessible and local. The fire of the hip-hop culture spread.
1, 2, 3, 4, hit it! Come on, come on, come on, come on! 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, 3, come on, 3, 4, come on, 4, hit, 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 hit. You ain't never know, you know the 1, 2, 3, 4, hit.
There's no way you can deny the art value of graffiti. If you think it's hard to draw with a pencil, a pen, a magic marker, or a paintbrush, try doing it with a can of spray paint, hanging from a fence or a train. At night, exactly, looking around for dogs and police and all that. Before man was able to articulate himself through speech or language, he was able to do it through art. And we found evidence of that in caves from thousands of years ago. That's why we know so much about early man. There were no books, words, or manuscript. Everything was images, okay? And that's the first time the planet had graffiti. And graffiti has revisited us in every civilization since early man. The ancient Romans, the ancient Greeks, the ancient Egyptians, they all had some kind of writing, scrolls, hieroglyphics that all equate to the same energy that we call graffiti. Now, modern graffiti of the hip-hop culture and generation started very prevalently here in New York around the mid to late 60s. And there were a few guys who captured the entire city's imaginations by writing their names all over it. One guy in particular used to write the name Taki-183, Tacky 183. And if there was one person who helped to create this outlaw mystique as far as graffiti was concerned, it was Tacky. There was a time in the New York Daily News on the front page sign read, "Who is Tacky?" That's how infamous this guy became, because the name was all over this city.
Yeah, one for the trouble, two for the time. Come on, y'all, let's
This is a social dance that is a present manifestation of Afro-diaspora, right? Expressions that, you know, at this point combine martial arts, capoeira, you know, Russian kick dancing, jazz, and salsa.
gymnastic moves involved. It was just kickouts and foot spins, which came from the Nicholas brothers, Sammy Davis Jr., and a lot of other jazz dancers that were influencing the culture at that time.
So I started to break because I felt like that was the only way that I could command the floor until I'm done in a circle. So really breaking became like a defense mechanism. If I thought I was in a safe space, I don't care that you do the cabbage patch, the Daisy do whatever. But if I felt like I'm in a place where I don't know everybody and people are drinking, it's mostly guys here,
The MC is the master of ceremony, the bearer of the message. The message is found in the lyrics, which are placed into bars. As hip-hop became more mainstream and the rap industry started to develop, the attention was taken from the DJ, the foundation of hip-hop, and placed into the MC, who finds expression in the art of rapping.
Pop first started in the early 70s, 80s, it was very positive. It was trying to get out the word, the grassroots. We had KRS, people like that. Those, you know, I kind of like. But then hip-hop started to move a little different, and we got into the gangster rap and all the other stuff. And now the women's are HOs and the BITCHs and you know. So I just kind of like just strayed away from the you know, from the hip-hop.
I would say that there's made clear delineation, a clear divide between what is hip-hop culture, which is what we talked about today, and what is the rap music industry, which is the pimping of that culture, the co-opting of that culture.
My experience with rap and hip-hop came from community, came from disco, came from high school, came from the block, came from the neighborhood, from all of that culture that was like a shared youth culture. And the best thing wasn't about like shooting each other up and taking each other's stuff. The best thing was really about, do you have the skills to dance? Do you have the skills to make art? Can you rap? Can you flow? You know, what's your talent? Whatever your talent is, like everybody wanted to be the best at their thing.
I think the power structure supports negative hip-hop. They finance negative hip-hop to keep us at each other, to keep us fighting against each other.
The folks that own and fund the music industry are the same folks that own and fund private prison industrial complex. Like Interscope Records has been responsible for giving us a majority of the beats to him. NWA, Tupac to the East versus West Coast beat towards 50 Cent. He was signed to Interscope. You got Chief Keef out of Chicago. You know what I'm saying? 60-year-old signed to Interscope Records. They're all signed to the same record company that's owned by General Electric. Who's the #1 funder of the private prison system? General Electric. So a lot of these songs that are coming out are like commercial jingles for the prison industrial system.
There's an innate sense inside of all of us to leave our mark, to leave an impression. That's our jobs in life. I mean, even animals do it. They leave a mark. Well, they pee on stuff, okay? But we're a little more civilized than that. There's a lot of different ways we can leave a mark. We can do it through academics. We can do it through science. We can do it through art. We can do it through politics.
Give it up one more time. Alright, now let me introduce my peers to the stage.
For the ladies, we have myself, Asada, Sydney, and Maya.
We have myself, my man Zion, my man Xavier. And we missed two of our group members, Quan and my man Soleil, but they're here in spirit, you know what I mean? So, alright, now we want to direct our attention toward the crowd. Raise your hand if you knew that the rap industry is funded by the people who run the prison system.
Now, how many of you guys knew that graffiti was prehistoric from like the beginning of time? And did you guys also know that graffiti is also the most criminalized aspect of hip hop itself?
Yep. Raise your hand if you knew that DJing was the foundation of hip hop. That's good. That's good. That's that culture right there. Yeah. Now I want everybody to shout out their favorite genres. Just shout it out.
Everything.
All right. Now hip hop is involved in every single one of those genres. If they took a piece of the music, the instrumental, everything, they're involved in each and every one of those genres.
You guys can shout out some of your favorite artists. They've been impacted by some of the first hip-hop artists. One of the most infamous songs in hip-hop has been Message, and the Message actually was a first-hand account of what life was like in the South Bronx in the 1970s.
Yeah, it talks about broken glass everywhere, pissy projects, and being youth with nothing to do, but still staying positive.
If you were to dissect the lyrics of a hip-hop song today, what do you think the message would be? Like, would it be positive or
negative?
I don't feel like hip-hop nowadays reflects the way we live.
Exactly. But we control what's going on in hip-hop today, and we have to make that difference. You know what I mean? Alright, now we want to finalize, we're going to bring up Claudia and Megan to the stage. Our instructors, they did a great job helping us put this video together. We toured a lot of places, so we're going to put that together. And if my man here is almost finished. Yeah, alright, Claudia wants to say a few words.
How's everyone doing? Are we still up? Is this a hip-hop crowd? I have to integrate a little bit of my Latina-ness into this. So, familia, listen. No. There's 4 generations of hip-hop. Hip-hop is 41 years old. Now, we hope to have hip-hop for many years to come. You said it's unfortunate that hip-hop's message today is a negative one. We made a differentiation in the video between the rap industry and hip-hop. They're two different things. Hip-hop culture is what you saw in the video. The rap industry is a cheap key that the mainstream sells you. And one of the main points that I try to make in the conversation with the students and exposing them to different places where hip-hop culture still lives is the message that hip-hop is in the community. Hip-hop is in the community. The messages of relevancy to people's struggles are in our communities. When you look at the rap industry, all that type of life is irrelevant to the way we live. And so I'm very, very happy and proud to have worked with such intelligent young minds because they challenged me at all times. And I learned so much from you, from hip-hop today, and how much you can contribute to the hip-hop culture and its betterment and improvement. So I'm happy to be part of the Schomburg family. This is the first time for me to be able to be in the space with y'all. I hope it's not the last time. I'm very, very proud of you. I'm very, very proud of the other groups that came before us. You all rocked the house. So give yourselves a round of applause.
We have time for two questions. Two questions. There's one. First of all, I want to say thank you. Thank you very much. I'm a product of the South Bronx. Those burnt out buildings you saw there, that's where I came from. Okay? And just again, thank you. I want to thank the organizers of this program to let people know the difference between the rap industry and what hip-hop was. I challenge you for 2015. All these characters like Jay-Z and all these others, challenge them, write them about the N-word, about the B-word. Because I sat and watched TV on Oprah Winfrey, when Oprah Winfrey was challenging Jay-Z, and he sat there dumbfounded. As she explained to him, the last word that some black men heard as they died was the N-word, and he was just there dumbfounded. And this is an image, Jay-Z is an image that other people see throughout the world. Using this N-word and this B-word, that didn't come from my generation that created hip-hop. It did not come from my work, from my work. So again, thank you, and I challenge you for 2015, write these artists. Write. Thanks for the release.
I want to say congratulations to all the groups that went before, but I have a question for you. You guys showed a lot of images of a lot of important, impactful rappers and people. Can you go through the names? Because a lot of people may not know who they were.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so we had Immortal Technique, who is just a great MC. He talks a lot about the politics and the black culture and how black people can move on together through hip-hop and through music. We also had a group, Rebel Diaz, who was involved in our video, who is working in the South Bronx in a community where they're from Chile, but they're working in the South Bronx in a community where there's still a lot of poverty going on, and they're trying to use hip-hop to empower young youth and bring them confidence, and I think that's very important, especially during the 70s where hip-hop grew. That was the main goal, to give black people confidence, and I think that nowadays that's not seen as much, so I think both of those groups are doing very well.
We also have people from Tropical Quest. I believe there was Dead West on there. Yeah, we have Run DMC, They're Our Guardian, Grandmaster Caz, Afro Revival.